Hello, I'm Chris Nieratko, and welcome back to a new episode of Skaters in Cars. This week, we're driving around San Pedro, California with legendary skateboarder Mike Vallely. Hey, what's up, Mike?
Yo, what's up?
How you doing?
Chris?
Good to see you.
Good, man.
How's things?
Good, man.
This is the street plant operation?
This is it. This is Garageland.
I like it. It's nice. You want to give me the nickel tour? There's
The
over
nickel
there
tour.
and there's over there.
There's this wall. That's not really part of it. That's just storage. And there's this area right here. And then we got a little orders get processed over there.
Isn't this a big year for the Barnyard graphic for you?
It's 30 years. 30 years since the Barnyard came out. So these are a few sketches that McKee sent us. Just ideas. We don't really know what the final graphic's gonna be. This was McKee's very first graphic he ever did in skateboarding.
Oh, no way, it's his first? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Working with Mark again and doing something fresh and new with the characters or the concept of the board is really cool. We could have just, reissued the graphic again and said 30 years or something, but he wanted to draw something new. And, at the time, it was just another board, man. People think the Barnyard they say it's the granddaddy of the popsicle stick or something. It's more of like people looking back and pinpointing it. I would never claim being responsible for the standardization of skateboard shapes.
I'll give it to you, though.
That's not something I want, because that's not, I'm not interested in standardization, But as something functional and something that played a role in the evolution of skateboarding, yeah, that's a really cool thing to be attached to. And this was the very first time that the manufacturing of skateboards was in line with what we were doing in the streets. And the Barnyard becomes symbolic of that. I think it's because Rodney Mullen shaped it, Steve Rocco believed in skating in both directions, Mark McKee's graphic, and then the fact that I put my name on that thing. It was just, the timing of it was just right on. What we've seen happen with the company is things just kind of ensue. We're not really chasing after anything or pursuing anything. It's just, as it unfolds, and then suddenly we're doing cool stuff like this, But it's very difficult. We're still just 4 years into this. I'd like to make more room and more time for some quiet. Being home more and doing this company with my family, although it's work, it's also family time. My wife is always like, can you just close the garage, or can you just put the phone down? We have a long way to go, and I know what it's gonna take to succeed.
Mind if I put you to work on a Saturday? And let's go look at some spots.
If we're just looking.
Just looking. Let's go.
All right. Thanks for driving.
Yep. Being a skateboarder from New Jersey, we are all obligated to love Bruce Springsteen and Mike Vallely. You, in my eyes, are one of the most influential skaters of all time. A lot of younger kids might not know your place in skateboard history. Where do you think you sit?
Oh, that's not for me to say. I don't.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't, this kind of stuff, we're all guilty of it. Skateboarders love patting themselves on the back. I've been so guilty of it through my career and my life because you're always struggling for the respect of your peers and the respect of people beyond skating, because we know how much skateboarding has influenced culture, and so many of us have participated in the birth of the culture and the evolution of the culture. So we get into these things where we're talking, oh, I did this and I did that, and I sit here and I don't know, what can I say, man? I mean, look, I'm very blessed to have been an early participant in the birth and evolution of street skating. Couldn't imagine my life or my involvement in skating in any other way. It was the days of, dreaming it.
Well, I remember seeing you around the Cerebral Skate Zone and then seeing you in a magazine. And it was probably the first time that I thought maybe I could get out of this place. And so for me, you represent this guiding light of escapism. I went from thinking there was a force field around this small town that I could never get out of, and I was stuck there.
The idea of breaking out, I can relate to that, but skateboarding introduced that idea to me. And if I was a conduit for that same idea for other people, then awesome, man, awesome. But I always say that, like, when I started skating, or when I sort of intellectually or emotionally processed what street skating represented, my life went from black and white to full-blown color. It's like going over the rainbow. Suddenly my town opened up. It was wide open. It wasn't narrow anymore. Of course, it eventually would lead to, like, we have to get to New York City, we have to go to other places, we have to see other things, we have to skate other things. Eventually that road leads to California or leads to the entire globe. It's like skateboarding destroyed any kind of idea of boundaries. Before skateboarding, I felt that force field. I felt trapped. I felt like I didn't know who I was and I didn't know where I was going. But skateboarding changed all that.
I feel like when it comes to video parts, you know, you have produced a ton of legendary parts. When you look back at them, which are the ones that stand out to you?
Well, I don't think I have produced, maybe other than public domain, I don't think I've produced anything in the realm of video parts. I never tried. I never tried to film a video part, not in the traditional sense now that maybe like a Jamie Thomas established or something, you know, where you're out filming for years and this is the climax of, you know, I never did that. Most of my video parts, the ones I'm really well known for, like say Speed Freaks, filmed in one day. Public domain filmed in 2.5 days. My XGames Real Street, that was filmed over a period of time, but really it's no effort made to go collect bangers or something, or hammers, you know. My skating has always, in the realm of video, been very just kind of pure and honest and straightforward.
You were one of the earlier guys to get involved with Real Street. What was the appeal to you on that?
It was like, okay, how can I participate at this level on my terms, right? If it's skating in the X Games, at a certain point, it's not on my terms. With Real Street, it was you submit 1 minute of your skating. So win, lose, draw, it didn't matter to me, it was my skating.
New Jersey being a bunch of underdogs, I have the tendency of trying to discredit New York City by saying the best dudes in New York are always from New Jersey.
There was only a few skaters in New York City when we first started going there, that actually like lived in Manhattan or the other boroughs, you know? It was mostly kids from the suburbs. It was more suburban. But over time, I think, you know, New York City has developed, and whether they're transplants into New York City or they grew up there or not, I don't know, but it's developed its own scene, its own culture. But I think early on, it was the kids from Jersey that were, you know, a force of energy there. You have to look at, like, for me, Ian Fromm, Pepe Torres, these were city guys, and they were heroes to us. And before I ever went to the Brooklyn Banks, Ian Fromm ollied it, you know? He was in Future Primitive, man, you know?
In reality, if we were spot checking, that would be a big one in your life.
In reality, if we were spot checking, we'd be on a train right now, coming up under the World Trade Center and saying, oh yeah, man, this is where it all went down.
That was the epicenter of that scene at the time.
Well, it was like our skate park. It was our sort of EMB or Love Park, Pulaski. But it wasn't a skate park. It was something that the skaters claimed and took as their own. It was the meetup spot. So much went down there and it was so integral, but it wasn't like we only skated the banks, right? That's where we met up and that's where things got started. But over time, the banks became their own proving ground and people would travel there to see what they could do over the wall. Or so much went down there, man. It was incredible, incredible energy that came to that place. You'd go to that spot and there'd be people doing things over that wall that you just couldn't believe. So technical. And this was being done on boards with the tiniest wheels and, you know, generating speed was an issue. Krishna Soy ollieing the wall is probably like, you know, that's where the dream starts, right? You know, he wasn't really known as an ollie guy, right? But he's the first to ollie the wall. And then everyone had to ollie it. You know, we had to ollie it. I ollie it in public domain, but post-public domain, the stuff that went down was just crazy. You know, it all led to when the fence went up and I heard about the fence, I said, well, the spot's unskateable now. That's what they told me, it's unskateable. I said, well, I got to see this with my own eyes. I went there and I looked at it and I was like, I'm going over it. First time I tried it, I missed the pop and I almost impaled myself.
No way.
Yeah, and it freaked me out so bad. I picked my board up and I went right to the train station and took a train back to my parents' house in Jersey. And I stayed at my parents' house for 2 days. I had nightmares about it.
Oh my God, that's gnarly.
Yeah, I had nightmares about it, but then I just kind of worked through it, and I called Retta, and I said, I'll meet you at the banks, I'm jumping it. And he said, all right, I'll be there. And first go, I got over it, and then I never stopped. I ended up jumping it many times. It turns out I'm the only person that ever did it, I think, other than some BMXer, you know?
Again, that's why the best guys in New York are always from Jersey. What's the spot we're checking out today?
Okay, so I thought going to 7th Street School in San Pedro, that's a good spot to go to. A lot of time was spent there, a lot of crucial time, great memories. The spot ended up in a lot of my video parts in the early 90s, even into the mid 90s. And I think even to this day, there's some stuff I did there that stands up over time. So it's worth checking out. I mean, have you ever been there?
No, I've never
Oh
been.
yeah, it's kind of one of those classic Southern California schoolyard spots.
Oh wow, so this is it, huh?
Yeah, man. Wow.
Bring back some memories?
Yes, for sure. Looks a lot rougher than it used to look.
Oh, I haven't hopped a fence in a while.
Are we going over?
Yeah, there's only one way in, huh?
All right. It's like snooker.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. I'm getting my balls hung up.
When's the last time you were in this schoolyard?
I want to say late 90s, probably. This hip was where it was at, man. Loved skating this thing, jamming on it. Obviously this playground wasn't here because now it's in the way of the line, but it looks so mellow now, but I just remember it getting good snap off of it, you know? Enough to go over the fence, grind the fence.
Didn't you have a tail slide on that fence?
No, that's Guy Mariano, man.
I always get you guys confused.
Oh yeah, me too, sometimes. Although, you know, I had my hits,
Yeah.
And then I did a lot of tricks over there from the bank to the fence back into the bank. And I think that was like 96, 97. That'd be like PAL promo video.
But it seemed like every crew was hitting this place up like mid-90s.
Oh yeah, we'd be here and, you know, girl guys would show up and, you know, you name it, man. I mean, the best skaters in the world came here and skated, filmed. Ollieing this way was the tougher sort of thing. So once I ollied over it, then I started getting interested in what tricks I could do here, you know, so it's flying out onto it. I think the axle revert would still be a good trick for somebody today, you know. Axle smash revert and the Indy foot plant over the top is still pretty good.
And that was you back on Powell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caballero and myself didn't have pro models with Powell for many years. It just seemed offensive at a certain point to like throw our hats into that ring. And we got to a point where we felt like, okay, like, you know, in '95, I won Tampa Pro. We were traveling around the world doing demos. People were coming out to see us. We thought, hey man, we don't have to remove ourselves from this story. And we decided to bring our pro models back. This video part, the promo video for my pro model that came out in '97 was probably my most concerted effort to film a video part. And a lot of it had to do with this spot. What I did on this fence, there was no one else doing it at the time. Yeah, I still see it. I still see that's a line I would be looking at if I was skating here right now. Why? The bank is so obvious. Of course you carve the bank, you do tricks on the bank. The fence is a fence, it's a wall. It's meant to keep you from doing something. And when I see that, I see the big no, I say, I got something for you, man, you know?
I like that 40 years later, we're still hopping fences and playing in schoolyards.
Yeah.
Some things don't change.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine my life any differently.
As skateboarding grows, you think some of that rebellion is lost? You know, the simple act of hopping a fence into a school.
I think skateboarding is going to be as tame as it's going to be and as wild as it's going to be at the same time. There's some level of it, it's always going to be about hopping fences, and that's for every individual to decide for themselves. It doesn't have to be just athletics, and it doesn't have to be just breaking bottles with your buddies in the corner, you know? There's so much more to skating.